So hello, I'm Alex Duryee, the Metadata Archivist at the New York Public Library, and I'm here to give an update on the OpenRefine plugin documentation project. So, as we all know, SNAC is a fantastic tool for linking people and corporate bodies to collections, discovering relationships across collections and repositories, and taking part in the universe of linked open data. However, actually getting started in SNAC can be a daunting task, as archives often have large numbers of existing finding aids and catalog records that need to be added, and links that need to be created between entities and resources. Ah. The ideal tool for loading and managing large amounts of data in SNAC would be a number. Oops. Apologies. The ideal tool for loading and managing large amounts of data in SNAC will meet a number of requirements, such as creating many records easily, working with records with minimal description, and reusing existing description without laborious remapping or reformatting. In addition, it would be a tool that archivists are familiar with, which would reduce barriers to loading and managing SNAC data. So in 2019, the SNAC team worked with a student group at the University of Virginia to create an OpenRefine extension to support SNAC. OpenRefine was chosen for being a powerful data manipulation tool that's commonly used across libraries and archives. And following the group's completion of the project in the spring of 2020, its development and maintenance moved to the SNAC team. In addition to developing the plugin, the SNAC team created new features to support it, such as the processing dashboard and holdings export. And while the plugin did not have an official release date, the technical infrastructure working group tested it throughout the year, and the SNAC community was encouraged to begin using it starting in 2020. So as the SNAC community began to use the plugin, they provided excellent feedback on the use and needs of the tool. What we found was that while the plugin itself satisfied real needs for SNAC users, there were many questions about how the plugin worked and how to use it, and how to implement it in existing processes. In particular, there was an interest in end-to-end documentation, which would walk new SNAC users through the process of loading existing data en masse via OpenRefine. Thus, the TIWG developed documentation for using the OpenRefine plugin. This was done collaboratively with members of the working group taking on different parts of the workflow. The goal of the documentation was to take a brand new SNAC member through the process of turning EAD XML finding aids into SNAC resources and entities. This process touches many parts of SNAC beyond the plugin. For example, the processing dashboard is used to transform EAD finding aids into OpenRefine ready tabular data, and users need to be able to work with API keys for OpenRefine to communicate with SNAC. By focusing on the overarching goal of getting new data into SNAC, the working group was able to create broad documentation without it being overwhelming or confusing, especially for users not already deeply familiar with SNAC. In addition, by centering process over product, the working group was able to include existing external documentation for both OpenRefine and SNAC. The working group's documentation starts by providing links to external resources about installing and using OpenRefine, so users can get started and get familiar with the application as a whole. This also walks users through installing the SNAC plugin and obtaining an API key. Next, the working group created documentation for getting one's data, either via EAD XML transformation in the processing dashboard, or from SNAC via holdings export, and loading it into OpenRefine. Following this, there are instructions on working with resource descriptions, along with a video for updating resources with links to external finding aids. Finally, the documentation includes example EAD finding aids to walk through the transformation with, loading and editing process with, information on reconciliation via OpenRefine with the SNAC reconciliation endpoint, and contact information for the working group. And this documentation is available either directly via Google Docs and can be found on the SNAC resources and tools page. The link is also available on the OpenRefine plugin GitHub repository. And you can see going to the, if you go to the Google Docs, it takes you to this index. And from here, you can see all these hyperlinks out to different parts of documentation, either external resources, ones that already existed, or ones that were written by different members of the TIWG. And if you have any questions, comments, or thoughts about the documentation or about the OpenRefine plugin in general, please contact the working group via Slack, GitHub, or email. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex, for that excellent intro. Now that Alex has given you the sort of the general overview of the OpenRefine project, its purpose and its goals, I'm going to give you a brief demo, maybe a little bit on fast forward since there's a lot to cover for it. But this video will be recorded, so if you need to review it later, or you can, if you're interested in OpenRefine, you can reach out to us. And also check out that excellent documentation that Alex mentioned. But I'm going to walk you through the basics of taking the OpenRefine SNAC extension and using it to upload resource descriptions and CPF records into SNAC. So by resource descriptions, I'm talking about these finding aid-like records in SNAC, and CPFs are the basic corporation, person, or family records, which can be found all throughout SNAC. So we're going to be batch inserting large numbers of those and relating them to each other so that we have that social network of connections between the resource descriptions and the people that are described therein. So to start out, you need to have some data that you want to batch ingest first. There are a couple ways to get this. If you're just dealing with resource descriptions, you can go to a holding repository in SNAC and export them using the export resource holdings, and that will create a spreadsheet that you can then insert into OpenRefine. I'm going to show you the processing dashboard that Alex mentioned, and the process for using that today. So it allows you to take a zip file of EAD XML finding aids and upload it, validate it, and extract it into a TSV spreadsheet. If you do that, you'll end up with a folder that looks like this, with 3 spreadsheets, one for resource descriptions, one for CPFs, and one for the relationships between them. This is what they'll look like. I'll just show it briefly since we don't have a ton of time. Here I have my resource descriptions, various resource descriptions from NYPL, with title, date, extent, links, and various other information. Here I have the CPF table, which you can see contains a source ID, the related ID, CPF types, name entries, dates, subjects, and other info. And finally, the join table, which is several columns which show how the CPFs relate to other CPFs and how they relate to resource descriptions. So that seems like a lot. You know, it's a fair amount of information, but that's the goal of batch editing, is to get lots and lots of records in very quickly. Once you have extracted these from the processing dashboard, you can open them using OpenRefine. And I have that set up here for resource descriptions. Now, what OpenRefine will do is it'll take your spreadsheet and it will map them onto a record format and let you upload these into SNAC programmatically, automatically through the API, so that instead of entering these in one by one on a form, you can simply connect the dots, say this field belongs to this field, and hit upload. So just to show you how that process is, I'll come here. Over here on the left, I see the columns of my spreadsheet. On the right, I see the SNAC model, the fields for resource descriptions in SNAC. If I'm not sure what one exactly is, I can hover over. I can say, oh, the link is the preferred permanent link to the finding aid, and I can begin matching those. So we don't have an ID. These are new inserts. If we were editing things already in SNAC, I would want to map the ID, but these are completely new inserts, so we don't have a SNAC ID yet. So I'm just going to match those: type, title, date, extent, and this is telling OpenRefine which columns of my spreadsheet belong to which parts of the SNAC model. And once I've finished that, I can check my issues, see if I forgot anything. And oh, holding repository SNAC ID. So this is an issue that we have. SNAC, we've written in here that this resource belongs to New York Public Library, Jerome Robbins Dance Division. But SNAC doesn't know what this title exactly means. It needs to have a SNAC ID. That's where OpenRefine reconciliation comes in. I can click up here. I click reconcile, start reconciling. And what this will do is this will search SNAC and try and match these names to the actual entity in SNAC. So we're going to do that. Reconcile, start reconciling. And I've already added the SNAC OpenRefine endpoint before. And it's going to go through again, and it's going to take these names and it's going to try and search and find the IDs in SNAC from these names. Okay, so there we go. And it looks like it's matched them all just fine. It's found every single one. So now that that is done, and it knows who these are in SNAC, I can either hover over to make sure I've got the right one, click on it, or I can extract the IDs using add entity identifiers column. I'm going to call this repo ID for repository ID, and there we go. And this has pulled out the SNAC IDs from each one of these, and we can map it on the schema right there. Now, at this point, you would go and you'd upload to SNAC, but that's going to take some time. So I'm just going to go over here to a spreadsheet that I've already done this uploading on beforehand, just to save time so we don't have to wait for the API to do all that. But you would click upload to SNAC, you choose development or production, and upload it using your API key. Once you've done that, you will see SNAC inserts several columns into your spreadsheet with the result, any messages if there are any, the ID of the record created, and a link out. I'm doing this on a personal copy of SNAC, so these links aren't going to match up exactly, but I can take that and let's see, go to my resources, and yep, there we go. So we have from our table, this first row was the Bill T. Jones, Arnie Zane Dance Company records. And I followed that link into my own copy of SNAC. And here we see it's created those records for us. So that's stage one, is resource description insertion. Stage two is doing the same thing, but for CPF records. So we go take our CPF table, open that in SNAC, and it's a similar process of where here we have all of our records that we want to enter into SNAC. We go to the SNAC extension, set up the schema, and match the SNAC model to the columns. Only this time I'm doing it for uploading constellations rather than resources. I've gone ahead, mapped all these fields, the entity type, name entry, dates, places, occupations, 5 hists, all of those. We can check the Issues tab. Everything looks good. Preview to make sure that these rows are looking correctly. So like here, I've got the bias, the entity type, everything's looking pretty good. Upload to SNAC. Again, I did this beforehand, so we don't have to wait on the API. And then that gives us our CPFs. So here's Bill T. Jones, Arnie Zane, that was uploaded from that spreadsheet. And you can see we have the bias here. We have several subjects and occupations that have been entered, but we don't have relationships. We don't have resources. This is because that CPF spreadsheet we were dealing with has to first insert these records before they can be connected one with another. So once we've successfully inserted all the CPFs that we're going to be working with, and we've inserted all of the resource descriptions that we're going to be working with, now we can finally do that social network, that graph that SNAC is all about, the connections between people, corporations, families, and their records, and how that connects them to other people, families, and corporations. That brings us to the third stage, our join table. So that join table, just to remind you all, has the CPF source IDs, their relationship with other CPF source IDs, and also their relationship with various resource descriptions. So I've added that into OpenRefine, and I have it here. And we would be ready to go, except for one thing. We don't have the SNAC IDs for any of these newly inserted CPFs or any of the newly inserted resource descriptions. And SNAC needs those in order to be able to make these relationships. So what we do is we go to the two spreadsheets that we've just created, and OpenRefine can grab this column of the SNAC ID that has been inserted from our CPF project, and that same SNAC ID column from our resource description project, and it can combine those into this spreadsheet. And that's using an OpenRefine process called cell.cross. And I can show you how that works. So first we click on CPF source ID anchor. And we're going to edit columns, add column based on this column. And we're going to enter in a little snippet of code there. And what this is doing is this is saying, go over to our CPF table project, go to that column, and grab the SNAC ID from it. And we're going to call this CPF ID. And there it went. It went to our other project, found the matching source ID, and then grabbed the SNAC ID for us. And then we'll just do the same thing for the CPF source ID target, the related CPF that we want to relate these to. Click, edit column, add column, and we'll do that again. And we'll call this one related CPF ID. Okay, so it's grabbed the SNAC IDs for the related CPFs. And then finally, we need that for the resource descriptions. So we're going to click on our resource descriptions source IDs, edit column, add column based on this column, and we'll call it resource ID. And this time, we're going to the resource description table, and we're grabbing the SNAC ID there. Okay, and it did that successfully. So now we have the SNAC IDs for each of these, and we can go to our schema, like relations, and map these over. So our entity type, our CPF ID, our related CPF ID, our relation type, and our resource ID, and our resource role. And there we go. And with that, we can go upload to SNAC, and I'll show you what that looks like over here. Goes through that same process and inserts in new results. So it's like we have all of our IDs, and then the SNAC columns that it's returned, return success for those, the SNAC ID, and a link that goes out to the snaccooperative.org. Now, in this case, this is a successful path. We're seeing lots of things that worked out. Now, what happens if something went wrong? If maybe you typed in some incorrect data or you were missing a field? For that, I left the entity type blank on 2 of these so that we get a couple failures, and I'll just facet on that. And let's click over there so that we zoom down just to the failures. So these 2, I left a required field empty. I left the CPF type empty. And so SNAC recognized that. It found that it was a failure, and it told us which ones, and it gave us a warning, which is maybe not the most reader friendly, but at least lets us know what went wrong and how we can start to work on it. And yeah, so that's the process. It's a little involved, but luckily we are well on our way to making really good documentation. We have in the lineup several videos of common use cases and different ways to batch, ingest lots of data or update lots of data. Shout out and thanks to the technical working group and to the many people who have contributed in this. It's been a lot of different people coming together to report bugs, to stress test, and to make recommendations. So there's still a lot more to do, but we're very pleased to have this working and have this available.